This is the Reviewing Network Live, a weekly stream of consciousness recording session where I sit back with you folks out there, talk about some of the big news stories from the past week, and some other things I found that might be of amusement to you out there. I think you might get a kick out of it. Now, these are more like audio podcasts and are much longer than my usual videos and are also for the most part unedited and will contain some foul language. So, if you're easily offended by that, I advise you to maybe step back a bit, maybe go somewhere else. But hey, if you're up to the challenge, sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. Thanks. And for the 31st time ever, we are live. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Reviewing Network Live. It's another week where we take a look at the big news stories from the past week, and let me just say that this week is probably the most packed week of stories I have for you, so we don't have a whole lot of time to kill here, so let's go ahead and get right to it. So, I've already given you the disclaimer of how the show goes, so let's just go ahead and jump right into the weekend box office, which is, a little bit interesting. There wasn't really that. There's two movies in particular in the top 5 to look at here, and we'll get to those as we move along here. So let's go to number 5. Let's start off with that. Last week's number 4 movie, and that was Kung Fu Panda 4. Still hanging in there, $7.9 million, dropping only 24% from last week. $166.5 million, which I think puts it now as the second highest grossing film of the series. It surpassed Kung Fu Panda 2. Past Kung Fu Panda 3 a while ago, and I think Kung Fu Panda is at $215 million. I don't think it's going to get to that point, but $166 million domestically. It's now over the $400 million mark worldwide, $410 million. Not surprising at all. So, nothing much more to say about that one. We've pretty much covered that one is verbatim. So let's go ahead and move on to the number 4 movie. One of the new releases this week, and that is The First Omen. Number 4 this week. $8.3 million, which is not a very good opening for a movie that cost roughly $30 million to make. Yeah, $30 million, only bringing in about $8.3 million here domestically, $17.5 million worldwide. And this is a weird one because nobody was really asking for a prequel to The Omen. I mean, the Omen series kind of, after the first one in 1976, there was really not much more you could do with it. Nobody went to see the sequels. Nobody went to see the remake that came out in 2006. And nobody really was really that interested in checking this movie out, even though Disney was putting a lot of effort into the marketing campaign for it. I mean, it was promoted all over the place. The trailers, some of the trailers looked a little bit promising, and even the reviews for this movie were not terrible. In fact, this thing got pretty decent reviews overall. I mean, like, on Metacritic, it's got like a 64 out of 100. Rotten Tomatoes, 78%. The Cinema Score audience, it got a C. So that means that this thing is pretty much not going to make its money back. But it got the most positive reviews it's gotten since the series has gotten since the original film. So it's very conflicting, these numbers overall. It's not good numbers overall, but it got good praise by critics, and for a horror film like this to get the praise that it did, that's actually kind of interesting to see that happen. I mean, like, it's very conflicting here. It's probably not going to make its money back, but it did well with the critics. So I really don't know how to like what do you classify this under? Do you classify this as a flop? Do you classify this as an underperformer? Like, I mean, I don't know. Probably it's an underperformer. I don't think it's a bust overall because it did get positive reviews. And if this thing does well on streaming, I wouldn't be surprised if they decide to make more Omen movies exclusively to Hulu, and which you can also watch on Disney Plus now. So that's an amusing marketing campaign that they're doing, along with the amusing marketing campaign they've been doing for the last couple of weeks since they announced Hulu on Disney Plus. Like, if you've seen these ads all over the place, you see different Disney quotes with Simpsons with characters from Fox shows, like The Simpsons and American Dad and Bob's Burgers, American Horror Story, Futurama. Like, I know there's a Cinderella one where you have there's a Cinderella one with those bibbity boppity boo, and the boo is the thing from American Horror Story. And there's one where it's a Little Mermaid meets Bob's Burgers. You want Bob's? I got 20, and you see Bob from Bob's Burgers there. Then there's these aren't the droids you're looking for, and it's a Star Wars quote mixed in with Futurama, and then What was the one for The Simpsons? It wasn't The Simpsons. It was a Family Guy. There was a Ohana means family, and instead of family, it's Peter from Family Guy. And they're interesting marketing campaign. It's an interesting marketing campaign on Hulu and Disney's parts, but I found that kind of amusing. But like I said, if The First Omen doesn't do well at the box office and it does well on streaming, they'll probably make more of these for Hulu. So, The First Omen. So that's the number 4 film. Number 3, number 2 last week, Ghostbusters: Frozen Empire. Not as big of a drop-off as it had last week. 42.2% drop-off, $9 million. $88.8 million in total here in America. At the worldwide gross, about $138.1 million. So, probably not the numbers they were expecting for this movie, especially considering the goodwill that came from Afterlife. Take a sip of my drink there. And, yeah, you could tell that there was a little bit of a disappointment in terms of the box office, but I still thought the movie was pretty good. So, maybe because there's a lack of competition coming up, maybe it might stick around in the top 10 long enough to maybe recuperate some of that money back, but who knows. One movie that is going to make its money back, and pretty much has already done it, is the number 2 movie this week, and that is Dev Patel's Monkey Man, which, started off as originally a Netflix movie. Jordan Peele then saw it, and then he said, I want to be a producer on this, and you know what, I'll convince Universal to pick this movie up because this is a really, really good movie, and it's a really, really good movie, and they picked it up for $10 million, and that's exactly what they made back on it, $10.1 million. The budget on this was $10 million, too. I don't know if that's directly from the film itself, or that was what Universal paid for, but it's already over its budget, so there's no reason to believe that this will not be a profitable hit for Universal. And it's a really good movie. It's a really well-made film. I just did a review for it over on talking about the movies over on the main channel, and yeah, it's definitely really good. You could tell Dev Patel put a lot of his all into this movie, and he was willing to do whatever it takes to make a good movie. I mean, the guy injured himself big time, breaking his arm on the first action sequence to making this movie, and it's got great reviews, very positively reviewed. Got a B+ on CinemaScore, 72 on Metacritic out of 100. So, I don't know if it's gonna have the legs to keep it around in the box office too long. But like I said, $10.1 million for a film that cost $10 million to make, $10 million to pick up for Universal. They're happy with the results for this. Plus, this thing will probably have a life on its own through streaming and also through home media. So that's something that they'll definitely take into account on that. Which brings us to the number 1 movie from last week, which is now the number 1 movie this week, and that is Godzilla x Kong: The New Empire. It took a standard second weekend drop of 60% for a movie that opened up to $80 million, $31.7 million this weekend, $135.037 million. Worldwide is up to $361 million. It's a big hit for Warner Brothers, kind of like with Dune Part 2 earlier in the month. They benefited from waiting it out. They benefited from having not having HBO Max also having the movie on there at the same time, because that's what happened with Godzilla vs. Kong as well. And like with Monkey Man, it's a really good movie. It's a really fun movie with Godzilla and King Kong doing what you expect Godzilla and King Kong to do, and it's a good fun time all around. I really enjoyed the film, and yeah, I definitely like it a lot. I've been a big fan of these MonsterVerse movies, so I'm excited to see where they go from here. Hopefully they'll take some of the stuff that they saw from Godzilla -1, bring it into these movies, but I mean, we'll wait to see what happens there. But not too much in the weekend box office overall. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if Godzilla x Kong is number 1 next weekend, depending on what happens with something like, Civil War or these other movies that are opening up wide, which includes Don't Tell Mom the Babysitter's Dead. They're remaking that, and in fact, they've already made the remake, but just announced it in the last month, so I don't know how good that's going to be. The Greatest Hits, which I thought that was going straight to Hulu. I don't know if that's going to be in the theaters or not, but I thought that was going straight to Hulu. But Civil War, I think, is the only big new release next week, so Godzilla x Kong should have no trouble being the number 1 movie this weekend coming up, I should say. But we will wait to see what happens. It's going to be very interesting to see how that pans out. So that is the weekend box office as a whole. So let's go ahead and move on to the many news stories we have to cover this week. So, of course, Monday was April 1st, April Fool's Day, and that means you had to really look out for stories online, like stories or somebody posting stuff, because you didn't really know if it was actually true or not. And when I saw this story, which came out on April 1st, I really thought, oh, that's a good April Fool's joke. I didn't know the Hollywood Reporter was actually doing that. And then you look on and you realize that, oh, this is a real story. And I mean, I could see the potential for this, but to me, like, I don't really see what they're going to do with this. This is from the Hollywood Reporter, and this is a story about how the War of the Roses, that movie with Danny DeVito directing and co-starring in it alongside Michael Keaton and Michael Douglas and Kathleen Turner, great dark comedy, probably one of the greatest dark comedies of all time. If you have not seen the War of the Roses, you need to see the War of the Roses. And there's going to be a remake of it being produced by Searchlight Pictures with Benedict Cumberbatch and Olivia Colman starring in the roles of the Roses. Benedict Cumberbatch and Olivia Colman are going to have a nasty divorce. The two British stars have signed on to star in The Roses, Searchlight's reimagining of the 1989 dark comedy The War of the Roses, which starred Michael Douglas and Kathleen Turner. Jay Roach, the comedy director who segued into dramas with movies such as Recount and Bombshell, is helming the feature that is in development at the studio arm. Tony McNamara, who earned an Oscar nomination for writing Searchlight's acclaimed Poor Things, penned the script, which is based on the novel published in 1981 by Warren Adler. The original movie, directed by Danny DeVito and released by 20th Century Fox, told of a married couple, Oliver and Barbara Rose, who seemingly live the perfect life in a perfect old mansion. When the wife realizes that she no longer loves her husband and in fact bitterly dislikes him, it precipitates divorce proceedings that start as vicious and only escalate from there as humiliations, sabotage, and violence take hold of both sides. And yeah, like I said, if you haven't seen The War of the Roses and you're a big fan of like dark comedies, that's recommended viewing for the dark comedy, because that movie is so brilliantly executed. Danny DeVito does a great job of adapting that to the big screen, and he goes all out. Like it's the saying I've been saying as of late: life has no happy endings. This movie's literal definition is life has no happy endings, and this is basically a movie where you need to go into this not expecting a happy ending, because it's about as cold and as realistic as it gets, because the way this movie ends is so despicably and insanely evil that I love every minute of it. It's one of the greatest dark comedies of all time, and I really think it's one of those movies that's really, really tough to adapt to a modern time because of the way the world is. And like, if you try to be too dark or too over the top or too offensive, people will get on you real quickly. But yeah, that's why I'm a little bit worried on this. But the good news is there's a good talent involved in this. Benedict Cumberbatch is a great actor. Olivia Colman is a great actress. Jay Roach is a good director, although his last couple movies have not been the best. But it's got Tony McNamara, who wrote Poor Things, which was a really good movie and a pretty fun dark comedy in its own right too. So maybe it's got a shot. Maybe it can do well for them. And like, you know, Searchlight Pictures has been on a roll lately with some really good dark comedies. Poor Things, of course, from Yorgos Lanthimos, and then they just announced this week that Amy Adams is starring in Night Bitch, which is a movie where it's a horror comedy where she thinks she's turning into a dog, which is supposed to come out later this year, which sounds insane but could be friggin' awesome, and I can't wait to see how that pans out. But you know, part of me is very worried about this turning out to be another pointless remake, another White Man Can't Jump, if you will. Like, nobody needed to remake White Man Can't Jump in 2023. Like, I'm sorry, I still don't get that whatsoever. But at the same time, I see the possibility, if there's no major studio interference and they actually just let them make a movie out of this, then maybe it can be good. Maybe it will be good. So I'm keeping my fingers crossed on this one, hoping that it's hoping for some good things, but gotta have that negative thought in the back of my head that this might not turn out well. But yeah, that's the Roses story. Let's go ahead and move on to story number 2. Speaking of things that I wish were April Fool's jokes, Warner Brothers is going back into the Matrix. Yay, because the last movie was so clearly something that needed to be made and that people love so much that we have to continue the story. We just have to. And of course, I'm being sarcastic. Nobody liked The Matrix Resurrections. I'm sorry. Nobody liked that movie. So what's Warner Brothers thinking? keep giving people what they don't want. Warner Brothers is heading back into the Matrix, and this time Drew Goddard is leading the charge. Goddard, the fan-favorite writer-director whose credits include The Martian, The Cabin in the Woods, and World War Z, has been tapped to write and direct a new Matrix feature for the studio, Warner's announced Wednesday. This will be the first The Matrix film not to directly involve creators Lana and Lily Wachowski, though Lana Wachowski will act as an executive producer on the new installment. Plot details are being kept hidden on the Nebuchadnezzar, though the studio said Goddard approached the company with a new take to extend the franchise. Released just over 25 years ago, The Matrix swept the imaginations of audiences with a mind-bending story, enveloping pushing special effects, and a defining performance from Keanu Reeves. Co-written and co-directed by the Wachowskis, the film reveals how our world was a simulated reality with humans actually being used as batteries for intelligent machines, and how one messiah-like figure named Neo was chosen to lead a rebellion. And then they completely botched it up with the sequels. Why are we still doing this? Like, why? Like, The Matrix Resurrection was a massive bomb. Like, it did not do well at the box office. It was not a big hit critically or financially. I don't understand why they're going back to this again. Like, I mean, I guess the positive thing is that the Wachowskis are not involved in this one, so it'll be a new, refreshing take on it to see what a new person can do underneath it. And Drew Goddard is a very good writer-director. He's made a lot of great stuff, but who cares about The Matrix anymore? Like, really, who cares about The Matrix? Nobody cares about it anymore. Like, yeah, it was revolutionary for the time, but then it got old so quickly because everyone kept parodying it, and then you ruined it really completely with those two sequels that were absolutely unnecessary. And I never liked the Matrix films, honestly. I mean, the first one I thought was just okay, but I never thought it was anything too groundbreaking or too significant. And then with the films that followed after that, it's just like, how do you get invested in something that when you know they have nothing left in the tank, and they're just throwing stuff at the wall and saying, anything sticking? No, keep trying. And it's just like, I don't know. Like, to me personally, I did not like this news at all, mostly because the Matrix stopped being relevant after the first movie came out. There was nothing good that came from those sequels, with the exception of a few scenes in The Matrix Reloaded, and that's it. Like, everything that they did after that was, like, completely botched. Like, they don't really have anything. It's like they're going back to the tank because they literally have nothing else to go for here. This is how bad it is. This is how bad this whole thing looks. Warner Brothers is so afraid to release Coyote vs. Acme, a movie with long-standing franchise characters like the Looney Tunes that people still love. People still love the Looney Tunes characters, but they won't release the movie for no reason whatsoever. But they're more than okay than greenlighting a movie that's going to cost $100+ million for a franchise that nobody gives a crap about. This is Fantastic Beasts all over again. Like, this is, there's no reason to continue this. Like, what else is there to tell with the story? Like, where do you really go from here? It's just, I know I'm going off on a tangent or something like that because I just don't get it, man. I don't get the appeal of making another Matrix movie. Yeah, they're getting somebody else to make it so we can see what a new visual will look like. Okay, but you had nothing else to go off of after the first movie. This is like This would be like, what would this be like? It would honestly be like the equivalent of Orson Welles saying after Citizen Kane, this first movie ended on a good note, on one note, but you know what? Nobody's giving me any offers. Nobody's offering me to do anything anymore. So you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to make a sequel to Citizen Kane because, even though the story ended in the first movie, there's a lot of cha-ching I can still make off of this property. But you know what? Orson Welles was never like that. He knew when to stop it at one film and do something else. And it's kind of like what's going on here. Like, Warner Brothers, like, it's like they're trying to piss people off by making stupid decisions like this. Like, who wants to see another Matrix movie? Nobody. Like, nobody came to the last one. So, what makes you think that we're going to go now just because you have a brand new director there? Doesn't change anything. You can still do the same thing that you screwed up on the last three movies, and then do the same thing all over again. So what's the point? What's the point of doing this? Because The Matrix is a name brand. It made us a lot of money 25 years ago, and we don't care what anybody else thinks because we know what makes the big bucks. Yeah, you know what makes the big bucks, all right? Just because you're on a hot streak right now doesn't mean you know how to make the big bucks. And, like, I don't know. Maybe it's my vendetta against Warner Brothers going off on this, but I'm sorry. A Matrix movie nowadays seems absolutely pointless. There's nothing that you could do about the storyline that you haven't done already to make it interesting. Like, at least with Jurassic Park and Indiana Jones, I could see the appeal of bringing it back for another movie after so long. But this just feels like they're running out of ideas and not even hiding it anymore. So that's my rambling on this one. I don't like this news whatsoever. So let's go ahead and move on to the next story. And now, how about some good Warner Brothers news? I guess we don't know for certain if this is going to end up being good, but let's get positive again, because I like this choice that they made for this next story. Craig Gillespie, who directed I, Tonya, he directed Cruella, he did Dumb Money, most recently Pam and Tommy. He's been attached to direct Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow, which is the next film on the DC Studios slate. The filmmaker joins James Gunn and Andy Muschietti, the Batman feature The Brave and the Bold, among the filmmakers building out the slate of projects for DC Studios, the WB division led by Gunn and Peter Safran. With Gillespie, DC gained a tried-and-true helmer known for putting a grounded yet stylish spin on projects such as Disney's Cruella, the skating drama I, Tonya, and TV's Pam and Tommy. He was last in theaters with the GameStop movie Dumb Money. Supergirl star House of the Dragons Millie Alcox, who will play Kara Zor-El, the cousin of Superman. The film is inspired by Tom King and Bilquis Evely. I think I'm pronouncing that name right. Bilquis. Bilquis Evely comic, and will depart from the earnest take of this character's audiences may know for the CW Supergirl series. We will see the difference between Superman, who was sent to Earth and raised by loving parents from the time he was an infant, versus Supergirl, raised on a rock, a chip off of Krypton, and who watched everyone around her die and be killed in terrible ways for the first 14 years of her life, and then come to Earth. Anna Nagaria penned the script for the project, which does not have a release date. DC Studios is currently in production on Superman, its first feature. So this director, Craig Gillespie, he's been a really solid director, and he has made a lot of movies I've really liked. I liked what he did with Cruella. I liked what he did with I, Tonya. He directed a really good movie back in the day, Lars and the Real Girl, which was a really, really good movie starring Ryan Gosling, where he's this socially awkward guy, and he tells everybody, "Hey, I got this new girlfriend of mine," and it's a sex doll, and you really do believe that he is having a relationship between her and him. Like, that's not completely sexual. It's like a real, honest relationship. And I'm looking at his filmography right now. A lot of the movies he's made have been films that I've liked. I like the Fight Night remake he did. I liked $1 Million Arm with John Hamm. He made a great period drama for Disney called The Finest Hours, which I think is a criminally underrated film. Of course, he did I, Tonya. He did Cruella, Dumb Money. He's directed episodes of United States of Terror. He did Pam and Tommy, which I thought was a really good miniseries with Lily James as Pam Anderson and Sebastian Stan as Tommy Lee, which is a really, really good miniseries. Check that out on Hulu if you can find it. But I like the directing choice here. I think he'll be a really solid director. I think he can actually put this together and make it work very well. And hopefully the movie turns out good. I'm really excited to see what James Gunn's DC Studios universe is going to look like. So with that said, on to our next story. Some more superhero casting news here. We have news that the Fantastic Four has found its Silver Surfer. Julie Garner will play a version of the classic character. This is another story by The Hollywood Reporter. WandaVision director Matt Shankman is directing the Fantastic Four, which stars Pedro Pascal as Reed Richards, Vanessa Kirby as Sue Storm, Joseph Quinn as Johnny Storm, and Evan Moss-Baccarat as Ben Grimm. The film has a release date of July 25th, 2025, and is rumored to take place in the 1960s, the era in which writer Stan Lee and artist Jack Kirby first introduced the Fantastic Four, the super team that launched the Marvel Universe in comics. Eric Pearson, known for writing Black Widow and Thor Ragnarok, is the current writer on the film. The Silver Surfer was introduced in Fantastic Four number 48 as the Herald of Galactus, a planet-eating entity. Though that version of the Surfer was an alien astronomer named Norrin Radd, he'd been previously in a Fantastic Four film played by Lawrence Fishburne, which was Rise of the Silver Surfer. Garner is said to be played a different Surfer known as Shallabal, who was the lover of Norrin Radd. Garner is a 3-time Emmy winner for playing Ruth Langmore on the Netflix series Ozark. She also earned an Emmy nomination for leading Inventing Anna, the series about real-life con artist Anna Delvey. Coming up, she has The Wolfman due out next year from Universal and Blumhouse. So like I said, I don't know too much about the Silver Surfer she's playing. Shalabal. I do remember the Silver Surfer from the Fantastic Four: Rise of the Silver Surfer, which originally which I think was Doug Jones at first, and then they said, Doug Jones isn't a relevant name enough. Let's get Lawrence Fishburne to play him. We can still keep Doug Jones doing the motion capture work on the Silver Surfer, but no, we need a booming voice like Lawrence Fishburne, which probably was the coolest thing about that movie, which really was not that great of a movie overall, and it's just kind of and the crazy thing about those movies is just those movies are still better than what they did in 2015 with Fantastic. That should tell you something there. But yeah, Silver Surfer, I thought it was cool to see him on the big screen. It'd be really cool to see what happens when they bring in this idea of the other Silver Surfer, Shalabal. Trying to see if I can find some more information on her. I'm on Wikipedia right now, so here we go. The immortal empress of Zenla, the lover of Nornrad, the Silver Surfer who becomes the herald of Galactus in exchange for his planet being spared, separating the lovers from eternity. So I'm wondering how they're going to do this. Are they going to set it up so that she doesn't know, she never meets Norrad in the beginning, or is this just completely new altogether, or are we going to get mentions of Norrad when we actually get to the movie itself? Kind of curious to see how that will play out, so that's one I'm kind of curious about. Nothing too interesting about that one in particular. I just wanted to bring that one up as was another big superhero news story that we got this week, so let's move on to our next story. Hey kids, it's time for another story about a pointless sequel being made. The last couple of weeks they've been hyping up the idea that Happy Gilmore is getting a sequel. I think Christopher McDonald was the first person to talk about it during an interview where he said that apparently there was a first draft of the script out there already and that the film was indeed going to get made, although nobody else really knew about it. Adam Sandler kept his mouth shut for the most part. But then this past week on the Drew Barrymore show, I guess Adam Sandler was on there, and I'm looking at the story from Deadline Hollywood right now. The title of this is really weird. Happy Gilmore 2 is confirmed by Drew Barrymore. I repeat, this is not a drill. That's the title of this. And that title has so many questions to it on its own. First of all, if you're not reading the whole story, you'll forget yourself. Drew Barrymore wasn't in the first Happy Gilmore, so why the hell is she confirming it even though she's not involved in it? And the article saying, I repeat, this is not a drill. I repeat, this is not a drill? Is this supposed to be, the most important news story of all time that we have to literally put in the time thing? I repeat, this is not a drill. That'd be the equivalent of saying, you expect to hear that, in a story, the president is dead, the president has died. I repeat, this is not a drill. Not for a story about Happy Gilmore 2 is coming, but, let me go ahead and read the story from Deadline Hollywood, and, this news isn't really, the start of this isn't really all that promising either. Forget the 2024 election, which I think we all like to forget the 2024 election, but the Final Four and every other major event, a breathless Drew Barrymore has got the real news. Deadline Hollywood must have some stock in the Drew Barrymore show or something, because it feels weird how they're talking about this, but in a preview clip for Friday's episode of The Drew Barrymore Show, the daytime TV host broke some major Adam Sandler news. He has a screenplay written for Happy Gilmore 2. Barrymore says in the video, I want it, I need it, and I stayed up late last night with my daughter watching Billy Madison. So you didn't even watch the movie that is getting the sequel. I sent Sandler a video of that, and that he sent me another video back, and I'm waiting to see if he's confirming about the Happy Gilmore 2 script. And then later, Barrymore looked at her phone to seemingly confirm that Happy Gilmore 2 is in the works. This just in, I have breaking news. I'll just say this on my source that it's in the process. She reiterates, there is a process, and that process is in process. So, this is a weird article, because her sources are saying that it's happening. Okay? And I've tried to, and everyone went with this story. I've tried to look to see if there was anybody not involving the Drew Barrymore thing, saying that this was indeed going to happen. I barely saw anything about it, but to continuing the story, Barrymore was inspired to ask about the project after Christopher McDonald, who played villain Shooter McGavin in the 1996 golf comedy, told her that Sandler showed him a script for the sequel. I saw Adam about 2 weeks ago, and he said to me, "McDonald, you're going to love this." He told Cleveland Radio's Ken Carman show. I said, "What?" He says, "How about that?" And he showed me the first draft of Happy Gilmore 2. Maybe you should cut that out because I don't want to be a liar, but he did show me that, and that I thought, well, that would be awesome, so it's in the works. Fans demand it, damn it. And, so I guess this is happening. I mean, like, is Drew Barrymore a credible source now? Like, I don't... Is Deadline Hollywood paying for ad time on the Drew Barrymore show? Like, this is a weird article to just say Happy Gilmore 2 is happening, and just like she doesn't even say that it's actually happening. It's just like it's in the process of happening, so it could still break down, and this thing could not even get made whatsoever. Which, honestly, I'd be all for not having it happen, because we don't need a Happy Gilmore 2. Like, it's been over 30 years. 2 years from now will be the 30th anniversary of Happy Gilmore, and it's just like, we don't need a sequel to Happy Gilmore. It ended on a good note. Like, what more, kind of like what I said about The Matrix earlier, what more can you add to Happy Gilmore that hasn't already been done already? You're just scratching for stuff to do now at this point, and like, I just don't get it. I don't get why we're gonna keep making pointless sequels that we don't need. Like, it's getting ridiculous now, because now it feels like this is a continuing loop. Like, we keep making pointless sequels and pointless remakes because we can't show the original movies anymore. Today's audiences don't want to see that. They want to see the new shit. Like, okay, show them new original stuff. Don't show them new sequels that are absolutely 100% pointless. Like, I love Happy Gilmore. I really love the movie Happy Gilmore. I think it's a funny movie. I think it's a great comedy. But I'm sorry, there's no need to make a sequel to Happy Gilmore. There's just no need to make a sequel. There's no need to make a sequel to any of Adam Sandler's older movies. Like, Adam Sandler's too good. He's on a good hot streak right now, where he's made better movies than he was making 10 years ago. Like he's not just making movies for the sake of making movies for tax write-offs so he can go on vacation. Like, I mean, I guess he's making it because Netflix is involved. He's got that big deal with Netflix, but he's doing many good things right now for him to go back to that well again. Like, I mean, he's had a lot of great movies. Uncut Gems was amazing. Hustle was a good movie. He was in a couple good movies last year. You're So Not Invited to My Bar Mitzvah, Leo, Spaceman. I haven't seen that yet, but I mean, I keep hearing he's pretty good in that movie, even though the film itself didn't get the best reviews compared to the other films that he was in. But I don't know. To me, I don't think he needs to go back into that well again. I think he's at the point. We're past that point now where Adam Sandler should be going back to the well at this point. Like, continue on the path you've been on so far. You're finally winning people back after those many years of just doing the same stupid comedy over and over again. Like, you don't need to go back into that well again. I don't get it. I don't get why everyone demanding a Happy Gilmore sequel now. Like, demand it back in 1999, a few years after the movie came out. Don't do it now in 2024. Seriously, just don't do it, man. You're gonna do it anyway, and I'm probably gonna watch it anyway and be let down because it's a freaking comedy sequel, and my thing of comedy sequels will never go away. I'm sorry. If you do comedy sequels more than 20 years after the original film, I'm sorry. I'm gonna get pissed off about it because 9 times out of 10, most of them are not very good and serve no purpose of existing except the fact that the previous film was a big hit. Like, yeah, I don't like this idea whatsoever. But apparently it's going to happen, according to Drew Barrymore, so we will see what happens there, if it actually does happen. So, anyway, let's move on to another story. So after that first week of the NFL free agency, things kind of shut down big time, and there's been some stories here and there, some stories about players getting moved around, so on and so forth. But we got a big bombshell of a story this week that involves Stefon Diggs. For the second time in his career, Stefon Diggs has been traded. He was originally drafted by the Minnesota Vikings in 2015, and then was traded to Buffalo in 2020 to help out Josh Allen, and now he is going to the Houston Texans. I have the story here on NFL.com. The Buffalo Bills are trading Stefon Diggs to the Houston Texans along with a 2024 6th-round pick and a 2025 5th-round pick in exchange for a second-round selection in 2025. NFL Network insider Ian Rappaport reported on Wednesday, per sources informed of the situation. The Bills have since announced the deal. Following a 2020 trade to Minnesota, from Minnesota, Diggs broke the 1,100-plus yard receiving mark in each of his 4 seasons in Buffalo, including leading the NFL with 127 catches and 1,535 yards in his first season alongside Josh Allen. I can't begin to express the amount of love and respect I have for the city of Buffalo for the best years of my life. The city welcomed me with open arms. I'm forever grateful for you all in the Bills organization. Diggs wrote on Instagram Wednesday evening. Adding Diggs is a massive move to the Texans, who add another weapon for quarterback C.J. Stroud. The 30-year-old wideout joins Nico Collins and Tank Dell to form one of the best receiving trios in the NFL. Diggs' ability to win one-on-ones and get open off the line will give Stroud a reliable veteran to count on. All 3 receivers should complement each other well, giving offensive coordinator Bobby Slowick the ability to threaten defenses at every level. So for the Houston Texans, this is a win-win for them. They get what you're supposed to do with a guy in his second year as the starting quarterback in C.J. Stroud. He shows you what he can do in the first season. Now go get him the weapons if you really do think that he is indeed the key to your future. And that's exactly what they've been doing. They got him. They grabbed him in that trade. They traded to get Joe Mixon. They have draft picks at draft capital as well, all around. So there is definitely a lot there. They even traded away a first-round selection this year to Minnesota, who already has a first-round pick in the top 5 for more draft picks this year. So it's not like they're not going to have draft picks going forward. They're still going to be able to rebuild this team going forward. And this year, last year was any indication, this team should be on a roll this season. They've got all the pieces they need to really cement themselves and give that division a tough competition ahead of them. But here's my question for this whole thing, and that is to the Buffalo Bills. What are you guys even doing at this point? This is something where, the Buffalo Bills, apparently Stefon Diggs was very disgruntled in Buffalo. He even yelled at Josh Allen after the Week 1 loss to the Jets. But what do the Bills really have left anymore? Are the Bills just finally deciding, we're finally just going to take it? We're just finally going to go ahead and start tanking because it just feels like the Buffalo Bills really are at that point where they're starting to realize that their window might be closing in order to get to the Super Bowl. Not only are you losing, you're not only losing Stefon Diggs, you lost Tre'Davious White to the Rams, you lost Trent Sherfield to the Vikings, Dane Jackson's now in Carolina, Kyle Allen, the backup quarterback's in Pittsburgh now, Gabe Davis is now in Jacksonville, so is Mitch Morse, Nyheim Hines, Dotson, Floyd, Poona Ford. A lot of big names that you had on your team that really helped you, especially on your way to the postseason last year, they're all gone now. So, but they have picks in the draft. It's more than likely now they're going to pick whatever top wide receiver is available to them at that point, which could be. You expect Marvin Harrison Jr. to go first early on in the draft, probably to the Arizona Cardinals after they picked up a 4, but Roma Dunzier is probably going to be the next one then, and then following that maybe Xavier Worthy or Donnie Mitchell, or maybe not Romeo Wilson. I think he'd be later on in the second round, honestly. But the possibilities are still there. There could be some possibilities to get somebody in the second, at number 28 when they pick. So, they will probably find a guy to trade away, is to get at that pick overall. They kind of have to at that point. Now at this point, especially since they got rid of Stefon Diggs, but yeah. Good for the Houston Texans, man. It barely cost him anything to go get him, and he's going to help out C.J. Stroud in a big way too. Plus, you get a couple of revenge matches for Diggs next year too. He'll face the Buffalo Bills in Houston. He'll go away to Minnesota, the team that drafted him, and there'll be a Diggs family reunion with the Cowboys too. So, a lot of things going on down there for Stefon Diggs next year. A lot of revenge games. So that was the big NFL news story for the week, and I'm planning on something for the NFL draft night. I'm waiting to see what happens, but There might be a rewatch on the night of the first round of the draft. I don't know if it's going to be if that is actually going to happen or not, but have to wait to see how the rest of the month transpires. So be on the lookout for something maybe special coming up here at the end of the month, the first night of the NFL draft. So with that said, let's move on to our next story. And in probably one of the most satisfying news stories of the week, the proxy fight between Disney and Nelson Peltz has finally come to an end, and it ends with Disney taking a huge, huge win. In a win for the Walt Disney Company and CEO Bob Iger, Disney says that all of its director nominees have been elected by shareholders, rebuffing the activist investor Nelson Peltz, who had been running a high-profile campaign to put himself and former Disney CFO Jay Rasulo on the company's board. Disney announced the preliminary results at the end of its annual shareholder meeting Wednesday, noting that the final results will be filed with the SEC later. Peltz's Trian partners have been seeking to oust Disney's directors Maria Elena Lagomasino, I think that's how it's pronounced, and Michael Froman, replacing them with Peltz and former Disney CFO Jay Rasulo. A source says that Iger secured 94% of the votes for his board seat. Lagomasino beat Peltz by a margin of about 2-1, with the activists searching about 30% of the vote for the seats. Securing for about 30% of the vote for the seats. Rasulo lost his vote by a margin of 5-1. Disney has more retail shareholders than most public companies, which is why the campaign was so public. A source says that the retail shareholders voted by a margin of 75 to 25% to support Disney's board picks. In comments after the voting was closed, Iger said that he wanted to take a moment to thank our shareholders for your trust and confidence in the Disney board and management and the ambitious strategies we're implementing across our businesses to build for the future. Peltz launched his activist campaign in January, nominating himself and Rasulo to be board members of the company. Peltz's Trian partners had previously led to a proxy fight against Disney last year, but abandoned in February after Iger announced a wholesale restructuring of the company, causing Disney's share prices to drop. As the proxy fight went on, it became incredibly personal, with Disney releasing a political ad-style video framing Trian as being disruptive to its turnaround plan. Trian subsequently released a statement saying that the company was not taking on Iger, but the company's board, through leaks revealed that Trian voted against Iger in its board vote. Meanwhile, another activist, Blackwell Capital, also proposed its own slate of directors, though its relatively modest Disney holdings and its focus on attacking Peltz meant that it was not a factor in the proxy battle. Peltz takes aim at Disney's sagging stock price and released a 130-page white paper outlining changes he wanted to make at the company, including right-sizing the film and linear TV business and achieving Netflix-like margins in streaming as soon as possible. Trian also proposed to scale down ESPN's direct-to-consumer ambitions. But Peltz also told the Financial Times that he had some issues with Disney content, telling the publication, "Why do I have to have a Marvel that's all women? Not that I have anything against women, but why do I have to do that? Why can't I have Marvels that are both? Why do I need an all-black cast?" Well, I think that, and you could pretty much see right there that that's where Nelson Peltz really loses any argument that he probably could have had, because why do you need a movie with an all-black cast? Well, let's take a look at Black Panther for a second here, and let's see how much money that has made for Marvel and Disney. $1.3 billion. That's just for the first movie alone. Surely Black Panther: Wakanda Forever couldn't be as significantly popular, and $859.2 million. So that's $2 billion right there for a movie that has a mostly all-black cast, a film that is can be not only appeal to that specific audience, but also pretty much is universally appreciated by a number of people. I mean, like, I love the Black Panther movies a lot. I think Black Panther, I think, was my favorite movie of 2018, and Wakanda Forever was definitely up there as my number 2. But let's take a look at Captain Marvel. Let's see if is there anything different on that front. Surely Captain Marvel will completely get his point across altogether, and $1.1 billion worldwide. The first female-led superhero movie to pass the $1 billion mark. Yeah, you lost the battle big time on that front there. As soon as you open your mouth and talking about how the studio was woke, which, no matter how you feel about Bob Iger, the fact that he was able to come out and straight out say that some of you people out there have no idea what the word woke even means. Like, even the people who were so against Bob Iger had to go out there and say, that's actually a good point. In fact, I know that there's some of you out there that don't know the meaning of the word woke. So let's go ahead and go to the definition of the word woke online. So here I've got it right here. Woke, an adjective derived from African American vernacular English, meaning alert to racial prejudice and discrimination. Beginning in the 2010s, it came to encompass a broader awareness of social inequality such as racial injustice, sexism, and denial of LGBT rights. So yeah, the people who always say that there's something is woke and something is like, you have no idea what that word really means. The fact that Bob Iger was able to come out and say, you people out there have no idea what that means. Like, you got to give him a lot of credit for that. But I'm sorry, Nelson Peltz was never going to win that argument and win that is at all. Like it's clear that he is stuck in that mindset that a good majority of people are, that they think that they know exactly what the people want, and really you don't know what the people want. And the fact that you're still pretending that you're going to still find a way to crush Disney, and like you're still, it's like, I love the fact that after the whole thing was just like, it's just like he knows that he lost, but he's still going to be like, I didn't lose. I just won. I still won. Like, even like if I say that I won something, that means I have to be the winner here. Like, there was a story online on Deadline Hollywood where he was literally like, you know, you'll see me again. Like he's the supervillain of Disney. You may have won this time, Miker, but I will be back. And like he was asked about like how, you know, it was true that his firm made $300 million on its Disney investment, and he called that figure drastically wrong, saying that he actually earned $1 billion. And like he kept, like I said, he was just like it's a supervillain. He's like a really bad supervillain that as soon as he comes back, he's gonna lose this battle again. Like, especially after what he said about, well, why do we need a movie about all what about all Marvels? It's like do you know? Is like, do you like? I swear, swear, some of these people just have this mindset in their minds that if somebody does something that they don't like, they're just gonna have to be like, well, why can't these people have it? It's just like. And that's the whole argument right there. It makes no sense. I'm glad that this guy finally got what was coming to him. And, you know, you could say whatever you want about Disney and the way the company moves their business practices right now, but I'm sorry. Nothing made me happier to see that son of a bitch Nelson Peltz get his comeuppance at this point. So hopefully this will be the last time we'll hear from him. But, you know, he's going to come back at some point. And when he gets there, they'll be ready for him. So. Alright, so is that the last news story I had here, or is there... This isn't really a news story, but this was something that happened this week that I wanted to bring up. Speaking of people that probably should keep their mouth shut, there was this story that happened over the week where somebody on TikTok, you know, I feel like they were bored and said something, and said, you know what, I'm going to say something really stupid and see what happens, because... What had happened was this week was that somebody on TikTok, someone going by the name of Jahelis, I don't know if I'm pronouncing that name right, Jahelis, I think that's it, but she has this video on there talking about, am I the only person who's ever noticed that Saturday Night Live has never hired a, like, hot woman? And I want to be clear, I'm not saying that every single woman who has been a cast member on SNL is ugly, it's just none of them have been ever, like, hot. They're all just kind of had these looks that eventually grow on you. And before we continue on with this, let me go ahead and just read something here. And let me just go ahead and find what I want to say here. Alright, I got it right here. Jane Curtin, Lorraine Newman, Julia Louis-Dreyfus, Maya Rudolph, Molly Shannon, Tina Fey, Amy Poehler, Kristen Wiig, Cecily Strong, Sasha Zameda, Abby Elliott, Nassim Pedran. There, I just made your stupid claim even stupider. Like... This was a stupid claim in general to really talk about here. Like, SNL has never hired hot women. It's just like, this is why I don't do TikTok. Like, I've never been a TikTok fan. I've always seen it as, like, the watered-down version of Vine. Like, people are just doing and saying something because they think that they think that if they do this, it's gonna help them become stars. Like, I finally just accepted the fact that I can never master a viral video or try to make something go viral because I quite frankly don't know how you do that. Like, because like something like this, I feel like this person just decided to do this because mostly because they were bored, but saying something stupid like this, just like, that's a stupid claim to have. And that's not even the list of all the people on Saturday Night Live that are considered hot. Is that I think most people would consider to be hot women. I mean, like, any generation, you can go back and look at it, and you'll find a hot-looking woman on Saturday Night Live, but, you know, but, like, it's just, it does not make a whole lot of sense, and, like, why to even say something like this, and, you know, it's just, like, it just feels absolutely pointless, like, what was, like, it feels, like, it shouldn't, like, something that shouldn't even go viral, and, you know, here's the thing, though, Saturday Night Live has much more important things to worry about, is other than never hiring a white woman, never hiring a white woman, no, what am I saying, never hiring a hot woman, that's what I meant to say, so, but yeah, Saturday Night Live has much more important things to worry about than never hiring a hot woman. They need to worry about keeping their ship afloat because, man, this season in particular, you can definitely see the cracks beginning to fill on Saturday Night Live because it's stuck. They're stuck on what kind of a show they want to be now. They want to be a show that wants to appeal to everybody, but they want to appeal more importantly to, like, you know, the Democratic, you know, the liberals, the Democratic side of the thing, because it feels like the humor that they put on there is just, like, not to say that they don't make fun of the Democrats in general. They still make fun of Joe Biden, but at the same time, a lot of the jokes that they've had right there, they're really getting stale. Like, SNL, whenever the elections came around, political humor used to be their bread and butter. Like, I mean, between 2000 and 2016 was like, that was the key years of when they actually made that stuff work. But the last two elections, man, it's just kind of like they've been struggling to keep up and try to appeal to everybody, but mainly appealing to one specific side of the political spectrum in particular. Like, I'm sorry, I'm getting tired of the Trump jokes. Like, honestly, when Alec Baldwin and Donald Trump back in 2016, that was good. That was funny stuff, but it just goes on and on and on. I just feel like they throw them in there. They have to throw it in there for the most pointless reasons of all. But they also want to appeal to the people that could eventually be forced to run in the election. Like, remember a couple months ago when Nikki Haley showed up for no particular reason? Like, they literally just have her thrown in there because, oh, it's Nikki Haley. What is she doing here? It's just like, and like I said, it doesn't help that the show has really been struggling to find its way to keep people invested in what's going on, because the jokes have the groundbreaking slightly offensive humor that they had back in the day. Some might say really offensive humor. That stuff is gone, man. Like, that stuff has just gone away, and it just feels like they're really just trying to stick to one specific side of the spectrum, and like the show really has struggled a lot in the last couple of years, but this year in particular. The cracks have really begun to show, and the show's heading into its 50th year next season too, and so I don't know. I've been hearing some rumblings that maybe Saturday Night Live might end its run after after the 50th season. Maybe Lorne Michaels finally decides to retire and hand it off to somebody else. You got to do something at that point. I mean, you got to do something to keep the show from going completely off the rails, because it's going to get to a point where if you keep on this path, you're really going to lose a lot of your audience's patience, because most of the stuff they do it's not like every once in a while there'll be a really good bit from Saturday Night Live compared to like 10 years prior when most of the jokes that they had actually did work. And like, I don't know, the way Saturday Night Live has been running right now, I think that's the big thing that those people who work on the show should worry about. Like I said, they should be more worried about fixing their own show without having to have somebody tell them how they should hire the people working there. It's just like, hire more hot women. It's just like, just a stupid argument to have there. And I mean, of course they're going to respond to that, which I don't mind them responding to that in any way, shape, or form. The people at SNL, like, they're allowed to do what they want. They're human beings. They're normal people too. But like, I'm sorry, like, I don't know what I'm more upset about. I think I'm more upset about the fact that somebody had to say that, and the fact that we're now getting people that are on the same, that are trying to defend that person who said the initial thing. Like, the people on The View made a big deal about it too. It's just like, well, they don't hire hot men either. It's just like, what are we doing? Like, what are we seriously doing right now? It's just like focus on stuff that's important, that's really going on in the world, instead of this garbage right here. Like, I don't know, like I said, this is why I don't use TikTok. This is why I've kind of stopped trying to be a person that tries to be the next viral sensation. It's just like, I've just gotten to the point where it's just like, I don't know what makes for viral entertainment anymore. Quite honestly, it's just like I'm just gonna be me, okay? So yeah, just some ramblings right there. But let's go ahead and move on to the next thing I want to cover here. So last week we talked about the movie Big Girls Don't Cry, They Get Even, and I talked about how I think the film didn't have a lasting legacy because it was coming around that time when everybody was trying to copy the Brady Bunch formula. And that was a movie that was definitely copying the Brady Bunch formula to it. But I also brought up during that I brought up the Brady's TV show from the 1990s. Now the Brady Bunch had several spin-offs after the first show came on the air. I mean, right from the get-go, they had an animated spin-off series called The Brady Kids, which aired on Saturday mornings, and which was probably the craziest thing that they ever had their name attached to, and that's saying a lot. But so you would think that this show would be just the Brady Kids in animated form, but no. They had to take it to another level. Let's take a look at the additions that they brought into the Brady Kids. They had pandas, not just one panda, two pandas, and a dog that's clearly not the same. I don't think that's the same dog from the Brady Bunch TV show. It's clearly a different dog. It's just like, but they've got pandas for some reason, and they've got the dog as well. But no. That's not enough. We need to add another element to the show that just needs to be added in there because we just need to throw it in there. So what's better than having not only a dog, not only two pandas? What else do you need to throw into the equation? A magical bird. I shit you not, this was a thing that actually happened. They gave the Bradys not only two pandas, because that would be enough as it is, but no, we need to throw in a bird named Marlin who's a magical thing, like because the Great Gazoo was a success for the Flintstones when that happened. We think, or at least that's what the charts tell us, and that show didn't last very long, and the Bradys had all these different spin-off shows in particular, and so they had but that's not what we're here to talk about. We're here to talk about the 1990 Brady Bunch TV reboot because it came after the Very Brady Christmas movie was a big success in 1988, and so they decided to do a new revival of the Brady Bunch series. But we can't just do that. No, we just can't bring the Brady Bunch back into a half-hour TV show. No. This is the end of the 80s and the beginning of the early 90s. You know what we need to do? We need to take this to a whole nother level. You know what the most popular drama series on TV is at this point? 30-something. If you never saw 30-something, it was a show basically following a group of baby boomers in their 30s who live in Philadelphia, how they handled their lifestyles that dominated American culture during the 1980s, given their involvement in the early 1970s counterculture as young adults. And it was actually a show that went on to become a massive success. It won a couple of Emmy Awards. I think it even won Best Drama Series one year, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, it won Best Drama Series in 1988. And I thought 89, but no, it didn't. It only won it in 1988. But it only lasted 4 seasons. It was only on for 4 seasons, and by 1990, the show had kind of already started to begin its eventual downfall. But yeah, it only lasted a couple of seasons, so it wasn't really that influential of a show in general. Maybe the story, I guess maybe the storylines they talked about on there were seen as very groundbreaking for the time, But that brings us to what the people who were making the Brady's thought. They thought, you know what? We could do a regular reboot of the Brady Bunch, but 30-something is a thing that we think is going to stick around forever. So let's go ahead and take the concept of 30-something and put it into the Brady Bunch, because clearly that's going to equal success for us. And needless to say, that was not the case. So the show premieres in February of 1990, and for a show that only had 6 episodes aired, they found a way to put together not 1, not 2, but 3 different theme songs. Yeah, they had 3 different theme songs for this show in particular. Here's the first version, which is basically kind of like a regular version of the Brady themes of the theme song to the show. Okay, so that's kind of what you expect from a show that's basically a 30-something kind of knockoff. But here is the second one, which is, if you want to think about it, probably my favorite one of the three because of what they decided to do here. For some reason, that guitar riff the guitar riff just works so much better for that show in particular. It's a really good rendition of the song here. Yeah, that version I think was the best one of the three, but they weren't done there. Because apparently the show went into syndication, went on to Fox Family for a couple of years, and they decided to bring Florence Henderson back in to not only be a part of this, but also to sing to sing the theme song with lyrics. And what follows is it's just something to see that you have to hear. So let's go ahead and take a listen.
Here's the story of the family Brady. A mom and dad with all their children grown.
Here's the thing. Florence Henderson is a great singer, and she's trying her best to make this work, but I'm sorry, the lyrics for this song are absolutely horrible. You're lucky that I'm stopping it right there, because man, the lyrics for that song are just brutal to listen to, and it really does not feel like a song that deserves to have that. It really does not feel like the lyrics that you should have for a song like this. Also, I find it kind of amusing that the opening, when they flash back to the Bradys when they were younger, clearly they went the extra effort. Let's put it this way: they went the extra effort to make sure that, because we couldn't get, the original Marsha to come back for this, that we not only had to get the new Marsha in there, but we also have to get a person to play a younger version of a fake Marsha, which I just found that absolutely hilarious to think about, because this show was that's probably the best way to talk about this show in general, that it was hilariously bad for all the wrong reasons. Even though this was a show that was clearly supposed to be more dramatic, it still included the laugh track for some reason. There were far more serious plot lines being added into this, Mike actually begins a political career, Greg becomes an obstetrician and is married to a nurse, and their son is actually played by Jonathan Taylor Thomas, pre-Home Improvement. Bobby has an auto racing career that ends abruptly after an accident leads him a paraplegic. Peter breaks up with his fiancée from A Very Brady Christmas and begins dating the abusive daughter of Mike's political rival. Jan adopts a Korean girl named Patty because she's unable to conceive children of her own. Marsha battles alcoholism, while her husband loses a series of jobs, and a radio host, Cindy, becomes having a romance with this boss, a widower more than 10 years his senior, and has 2 children. And all of this is done with a laugh track, too. It's just what the hell were they thinking when they made this show? And it's funny to believe that this could have been a whole lot worse, because there was actually an unproduced episode where Mike Brady dies in a helicopter accident. He wanted to check out a progress at a fire break and the chopper hit a downdraft due to a wind shear caused by a flame. The script also called for Carol to sing at the funeral, and Jan would have also finally gotten pregnant. Gary would have proposed to Sydney. Peter would have taken over Mike's position as city councilman, and the mobile trauma unit he helped to build would be named after him. What the hell were they thinking when they made this show? I have no idea what they were thinking. It's like they saw them. I don't know. I really have no idea what the hell they were thinking, because everything that I told you sounds so insane. To think that this all comes from a show that started off as a simple, fun family comedy in the 1960s, and now we have all this insanity going on here, and it's just like, what the hell were they thinking? Seriously, what the hell were they thinking when they made this? And But on the plus side, there are a couple moments in here that I think are kind of amusing, and probably the way they didn't want it to. But there's one scene in particular. There's one. It's because like back in the day, they used to have these intros for their for their dramas on CBS, where it's just like, you know how there used to be like previously on Dynasty or previously on Knots Landing. No, they would have some intros where it's just like, here's a preview of what's coming up on this episode. And there's one intro in particular. I think it was the 4th episode overall where they decided to change the intro up here, where they decided to show the intro for this week's episode, which is the one where Mike decides to run for politics, and just the way that the editing works for this is just kind of hilarious to me. And I got it right here.
Your cause is virtually hopeless. What we need is action from an elected official.
I just love the way that editing there is just amazing. It's the guy, the first guy is just like I guess it's Mike's political opponent. He's just like, it's like he says like, oh, your cause is meaningless. It's just like he's basically saying, there's no way that you're able to do this. Everybody's just like, boo, and then Mike comes in, just like, we might actually have a shot at this, and everybody's just like, yay, yay. It's just like for me that's I don't know. To me that's kind of amusing the way they handle it. It's just kind of like it's just like, I don't know, and you can see why the show didn't last very long. I thought, I like the way that scene in particular is, like, the editing in that is so bizarre and so, your cause is meaningless. Boo! We might have a shot at making this work. Yay! It's just like little things like that. Like, they kind of get me a little bit for how poorly edited that was put together. Like, maybe they thought they had something really special, and then it's just like, no. This is about as bad as you think it gets. And that's really why the show didn't last very long, honestly. And I mean, it's a dumb idea to begin with, taking a simple concept that worked as a family comedy series and saying, we're going to make it a drama, but we still want to make sure people know it's a comedy, so let's have a laugh track in there for reasons that are beyond us. And it's just like, yeah, it just you could just tell it didn't last very long. It's a shame that this was the last full thing that everybody was basically on board for. Mostly everybody, of course, but yeah, like, what a way to go out for most of the original Brady Bunch people. So I wanted to bring that up since I brought it up last week. So that is the infamy that is the Bradys, which you can actually watch the entire series on an entire Brady Bunch TV movie collection that came out on DVD several years ago. That has not only all the episodes from the original show, all the spin-offs, including the Very Brady Christmas movie, and the 2 Brady Bunch movies with Shelley Long and Gary Cole, and also the made-for-TV movie as well. And even it has Growing Up Brady, the movie with Barry Williams talking about his sexual encounters with half the people on the set of the Brady Bunch. Like, apparently they wanted to put that in there for reasons that are beyond me, but that's available on there too. I'm sure you can find it for a reasonable price too. So I'd say that it's definitely worth it just to have all that on one set, but yeah, you can also find the glory and majesty that is the Bradys on there. So that's, with that said, let's go ahead and move on to some recommendations so we can go ahead and wrap this one up. In terms of recommendations this week, there's only one big thing I wanted to really cover on here. It's a movie that was unfortunately criminally passed over this past February, and that is Lisa Frankenstein, which is finally coming out on Blu-ray 2 months directly after it was released in theaters. Lisa Frankenstein is the story of this unpopular high school girl named Lisa, played by Katherine Newton. It takes place in 1989. She accidentally reanimates a handsome Victorian corpse during a lightning storm and starts to rebuild her into the man of her dreams by using the broken tanning bed in her garage. The Victorian corpse being Cole's spouse. This movie also has Carla Gugino, directed by Zelda Williams, Robin Williams' daughter, and Diablo Cody wrote the script for it. I really like this movie, man. It's a shame that nobody went to go see it when it came out, because it really is a fun little homage to the classic 80s horror comedies. I mean, right down to the poster looking like a poster for another 1989 horror comedy, Wicked Stepmother, which I've delved into this in my review. So if you want to go check that review out, it's on the other channel. Look for my review of Lisa Frankenstein and check the movie out. It's actually really cool. It's a really cool looking film, a really fun movie. Hopefully it will have a cult following over the next couple of years, because it is a really good film that definitely deserves a lot more attention. I'm looking forward to getting that in my collection. And Drive-Away Dolls, which is another movie that came out a couple months ago, is getting a Blu-ray release at the end of the month. I think April 23rd, if I remember reading it right. Let me see. I got the release calendar right here, so I can tell you real quick if that is the case. Yep, April 23rd. It comes out on the same day as The Beekeeper. So that's one I'm definitely looking forward to checking out, since that one has not been able to come out to theaters yet. But my recommendation this week is Lisa Frankenstein. Definitely check it out. It's definitely worth a watch. Probably one of my favorite movies of the year so far. And so with that said, we wrap up this fairly packed week on the Reviewing Network Live. A lot of stories to cover this week. Next week is, of course, Steel City Con, which is both a good thing and a bad thing. It's a good thing because I'm probably going to be tired after we're done getting everything finished up for the weekend, after bringing everything back home from the show. I'm not going to be in the right mindset to do an entire full-length show. So just like in December, this will probably be a truncated box office recommendation show for next week. That's the good news. The bad news is CinemaCon is this week, and that means that there's going to be a ton of movie news, a ton of trailer news trailers coming out, which luckily I'll have some trailer reactions on this channel too, so they won't be completely devoid of anything too big that gets broken this week. So be on the lookout for that throughout the course of the week. Yeah, it's kind of a pro and con to this week in particular. So be on the lookout for the new show next week, and don't forget to check out the Steel City Con videos I'll be posting every day, starting on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and it'll be over on the main channel. So if you want to make sure you get notification on that, hit the like and subscribe button for that channel, as well as this channel as well. If you want to see more videos on this channel as well, you can check out the previous episode I did, as well as some of the other episodes we've covered here on the channel. With that said, that's going to wrap it up. So thank you so much for watching this episode, and I will see you guys next week for the next episode. So thank you so much for watching. I'll see you guys next time, and until then, we are out.